Hello, Americans and people of the human species body of individual bodies. We have been taking tactical artillery from the only system that can observe properly how we are. In other words, what is generating all group differences? It is generating totally different individual species bodies. Each one made up of a whole bunch of individual species bodies. We have different color eyes and the same color eyes at the same time to show us it is generating all difference slash s, or it's showing us we had when we were using systems abridged, when we are using systems abridged, or the moment we will be using systems abridged. It shows us that, but we are prevented sophistication. They're offensively showing they need to pretend to be against kings because they are replacing what they had obligations to teach us. James Madison's plan was simultaneously to counter kings and to ally with them because they had the same exact imposition upon every individual leader, every individual sickly distinctly, every individual voice, any individual difference. This breaching method reassigned even black pupils whites of eyes communications in ways that no one wanted, and roles with that had been entrenched. And then America's founders were born. And we don't know their names. The only individual that we know the name of as was our founder was James Madison. He and they had declassified for us. Why and how even once James Madison was a president slash chief, he still did not have free speech. You guys are playing games because there are people that are involved with organized criminally foreign influence syntax at campuses. Criminally foreign influence syntax inside the books at the school depository, associated with the narratives repeated all this time, with the experts on the names of the people of the sciences, to use a phrase from the Old Testament. The Old Testament, using a phrase from a sentence, that is also a key to the book, but no one even knows about it because everyone has self-value collusion slash S with debates about things out of sequence or sensing for the breaching method anybody other, pretending things are debatable that are not and getting away with it. They need to offensively pretend to be against kings, pretend that America was about fighting against kings while they know that slavery was entrenched in northern colonies, southern colonies. More than 13, and then America's founders were born. What kind of nature of unity could be then? Oh, sorry about the slavery. No, it's going to be a unity. In other words, we have to pay attention to the breaching method, keeping other things, others, ourselves blamed for what it only allowed rolls with. You guys can't be sane with anything because the relativity. You get away with it. We guys would good people stay evil, like the people that have. I don't know if I put the link, so I'm not going to mention it. In other words, but I'll tell you, educators across the country, the names of the people of the sciences. You guys have you're saying things, and then you're pretending things are debatable that others say. You can't get away with it without self-valuing how Channel 3 attached me to fake conversations with themselves and with others. As a kid and as an adult, and with the Wethersfield police, they attached me to fake conversations with them that weren't at all, especially not at the police station, more than anywhere. As a kid, not as an adult. I had a conversation about a three-wheeler, that's it, with them when I was a kid. In other words, the kids who did go down there, have conversations with them, increasingly they have roles with all kinds of things. With the World Trade Center attack and other natures of child abusers, and roles with the whole careers of intelligence, foreign and domestic, shared here and there, criminally foreign influence, tactical delusions, raw, incapable of affording to be heard, short words with syntax proper regarding what's capable of being discerned right inside, just right from the syntax inside the books at the school, the book depository at the time, right? And associated with the school, with the syntax now regarding King's Day and their formal and or their informal, and the difference of that, their positions on it with campuses. You guys have had replaced at campuses A through Z, sickly distinctly, but also sickly non-distinctly too. And the breaching method uses functionally. However, one values how sickly non-distinctly campuses A through Z have had other things, others ourselves. Blamed, for example, where our founders communicate, instead of blaming a breaching method like our founders communicated for us to blame it on. Instead, you guys want to keep it blamed on the proverbial Uncle Tom. I need to read Uncle Tom's Cabin. But the Harriet Beecher Stowe House and Mark Twain House. They have roles with many people tied to former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his co-defendants in a 2006 case, district court case, and their lawyer. There are increasingly collusions with Intelligence Act and next to Fox Connecticut News and Harper, Connecticut, and in Rocky Hill, WFSB, Connecticut's Channel 3 News. At and next to them are increasingly intelligence also with the spots like next to the state capitol is next to Fox Connecticut News in Hartford, Connecticut. And then WTNH, and next to them is the FBI involved with wire crime acts and methods. And databases used remotely, criminally foreign influence, tactical delusions wrought since founding. Just like the criminally foreign influence, tactical delusions wrought, fact shaping nature, quality aspects, and the nature of the names of the people, the sciences, black people. Attend. They speak about peace and calmness because they are psychopaths with peace or calmness at the courts. They have more roles with child abusers, leaders, and kids. Women judges, good people will stay evil. And that will be healed when you follow mandated law properly. Get me off fake conversation with the Connecticut Interbranch. Get them on paper from the name switch and sequence, and get me off the fake conversation with the news and their sources, and get them onto paper now. These are also a whole bunch of people with the Leahy family as their kids. Generated like 3-4 generations of their families involved with Hartford Hospital and with Facebook. Also with little kids, with sexual medical offenders of kids. Before and after that was proven. They have more roles with it then. And they're playing fake conversations with me through the mail to other people. They won't communicate with me, you coward Leahy family. Make sure you confess how you faked conversations with me through the mail and get them on paper because we never had a conversation. Now, I believe there's more than one Brendan Leahy there, too. There's a little girl with that Leahy family involved with one of the Facebook pages, involved with some murderers and untimely deaths and confessions with names next to body dumping spots and the corrections officers, judicial branch officers. Brian Silver is involved with the Connecticut District Court and with the judicial New Britain Superior Court with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, Hartford courts, their family members and intimate ties with West Hartford locations before the World Trade Center attack and after. Ray Colo and Joe DeMoro, I only saw them at the inside of Weathersfield Community Center one time in my life. Increasingly, people with ties to the community center, all sides of it and the community center, have roles with the World Trade Center attack and roles with organized crimes at campuses, intercities and intra-cities, intercampuses and intra-campuses, and their roles with planting federal evidences crimes on all sides of my house, and wire crime acts and methods, including fabricating transcripts. These are also people collusions with fabricating things, pretended recording, with fake transcripts on campuses filmed 24/7, other tricks to pretend things are recorded that never were. These are people from, intercities campuses. A Trinity College recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed their students, and they have adults involved with the Joshua Stryker, who influenced them to plant evidences with people on out the state judicial branch offices in Weathersfield, Connecticut. They have roles next to Hartford Hospital and next to, not far from Hartford Hospital is UPS, is involved with them with various natures of federal crimes and child abuse, identity theft, fraud, slander, years apart. Since I was a kid, I never tried to contact Eric Oliveri. He's increasingly involved with people involved with proven child abuse kids years apart, first forced, and more then and now. Increasingly, people with market positions and all natures of they have the departments criminally foreign influence. Good people are staying evil because you guys don't follow mandated law because of the relative names forging and switching. These are identity theft, fraud, slanders, rackets, roles. When you guys replace, I don't care if we're black, white, pink, purple. You replace what our founders communicated with nature communicates with black people's whites of eyes. You guys are tools for this breaching method. You think that the suburbs were designed with slavery entrenched, northern colonies, southern colonies, a torture, extortion, slavery method. You guys think that it's debatable. Then you value the experts, tactical terror from the reasons we're supposed to have experts value. So you have the logic experts, the reasons experts, ones with badges too. Their whole careers were criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. We're going to get them on paper now too. And Sandy Hook campuses has a prison there, further involved with sexual medical offenders of kids and people involved with their prisoners, including a serial killer and some other murderers and people next to the body double spot of that serial killer. And the principal upskirt nature involved with their other prisoners with them too, with that campus in Sandy Hook, a prison campus there that forced that principal child abuser before he was caught. And now they have a police chief, Cintron, and they have Cintron family from Puerto Rico involved with wire crime acts and methods, various natures of predicate acts and organized crimes with sexual medical offenders of kids. That Sandy Hook prison has roles with a whole bunch of different countries too. People from Pakistan, Japanese, Pakistani, criminally foreign influence, tactical delusions, raw, sick people there. These are people pretending they're against criminals while they're involved with predicate acts with facts. These are also people with whiting forensics with the same house. And then the name Ray Kalol and a Phil Kalol and a Ray O'Brien was brought up at Sandy Hook campuses with confessions. See, these people make confessions, but they don't get on paper. They use the right to lie, but they don't have the right to lie. And now they're leaking too, because then they pretend it's debatable. Former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, named on all sides of criminal and civil cases and relative depositions of the former director and his co-defendants, like Thaddeus Grabowski, is involved next to Fox Connecticut News with people named Mendez, involved with sexual medical offenders of kids, and a Domain family, involved with people all along Hangdog Lane and Two-Route Highway with judges and prosecutors, involved with sexual medical offenders of kids, identity theft, fraud, slanders, and has intelligence families that planted evidence on all sides of my house and gets people's sense and sensibilities with their religions and other things involved. And they're dishonest about their motivations and what they think and feel about people. And when they have excuses, they use that for a lie too. That's also recorded. Increasingly, people involved with Ray Kalol and his educators. I never had a class with him in grammar school. I saw him, in other words, he was influenced to punch me from an unexpected and I punched him back and he fell down. In other words, I've been used to being punched though. They would do it when you don't think it or you don't know the person's name, so you can't say anything. And it makes it like if you say anything, it makes it look like you know them. As people that have been planting fake things in databases, increasingly retired Wethersfield mayors like a Gold family and neighbors of theirs and other natures of conjunctions to them are increasingly involved with people directly and indirectly involved with organized crimes on my street with a retired police chief, Cintron, and 1 years before that, also with their intimate ties and their family members. There's a Mazzucato bakery and a Mazzucato family as people on Facebook involved with them pretending passions and emotions about hate crimes, where they're preventing people from saying things about murders and predicate acts and relative confessions because they've been replacing and faking what's actually recorded. Increasingly, the Mazzucato Bakery is at a corner, and where they used to be and where they are now in Rocky Hill from years before they where they are now is increasingly retired police chiefs that are involved with sexual and medical offenders of kids, overt criminal enterprises, private ones, people from a whole bunch of different countries involved with sick fakes together, intercultural, the identity theft, fraud, slaves, fakes out here and there. I had them Italians against their own there, Italians against their own here, but also them with the other countries, including the Saudi attackers. People named DeMoro and Cololo said they have cousins named Scalora. Increasingly, there are people involved with the name Scalora and DeMoro involved with predicate acts in my street, in my area, their roles with home break-ins, and with the Heather Hanson's confessions. Other people that were influenced them to roles with his girlfriend with it. And then, in other words, in that same house that was involved with untimely deaths and confessions. Increasingly, a Paul Kelly sought me out to make it look like he knows me. And people that are his neighbors and other natures of conjunctions to him have Air Force and other natures of pilots involved with some untimely deaths and forced collusions of my past neighbors and relatives of the ones, other ones involved with the extended family members, further with the principal child abuser and past child abusers, overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and with syntax regarding psychedelics on YouTube. These are people pretending to be against drugs, but just really using it like their roles with the corrections offices and the judicial branch offices, with people with the name Ray Cololo and his son Ray Cololo, and a Phil Cololo is involved also with a Dave. I don't know his last name. I never had a conversation. Trying to make it look like other with a guitar or something like I didn't respond. In other words, they're trying to plant evidences and sequence shifts. And that's recorded that they were doing that consciously, pretending not to realize. They had obligations, the campuses, that they were blocked from fulfilling because of the roles of the FBI with overt criminal, various natures of federal criminals before they were proven, and their family members. Adon LeConte is increasingly involved with identity theft, fraud. I never saw her inside a campus in my life. I was only around her a brief second. Increasingly, she's involved with sexual circles and people involved with conversations behind my back with teachers I had that were criminally foreign influence, people involved with the FBI director, Robert Luskin, with sexual and medical offenders of kids, with judges and prosecutors. Judge Smith is involved with multiple prosecutors and associated also with Brian Silver, with sexual and medical offenders of kids, with this Leahy family. They had conversations with me. The district court and the New Britain Superior Court and the Harper courts, they have roles of people at West Hartford that affected me. They affected their corruption, affected requests for help from it before the World Trade Center attack. And these are also with people that, if you tell your parents things, they'll hurt you certain ways. If you don't tell them things, they'll hurt you other ways. And it's not just against me. That's one of the things I was studying relative to these, with their roles, with some Black KKK, Confederate flag themed, Latino themed intelligence families that used to live near me, and the ones that are still here involved with the police forging and switching names, and the courts, and everyone bringing up each other's names to make it look like we had conversations, ties with people I don't even know at all. Never had a conversation at all in my life with Ian, I believe is his name. I don't even know if he still lives there or his parents, or I don't know which house it is, off Fox Hill. His neighbors, though. These are increasing people with Washington, D.C., and with mayors, in the World Trade Center, New York City, and other interstate things and international things. DACA is increasingly criminally foreign influence. There are people with the name McCord that people named DeMoro and others associated with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and courts involved with sexual medical offenders of kids. They have a whole bunch of different countries along Route 3. And now just with that corner at the Elm Street in Rocky Hill and Wethersfield, and the Elm Street in Wethersfield off Route 3 too, has an Oliveri house with the UPS. And I only know them, they sought me out to make confessions. In other words, I barely know them. I only know them making confessions. And they're all tied. And they were brought up at Trinity College with untimely death rolls. Even if that was made up, there are rolls with people from Canada and the border states and New Mexico and Mexico and Saudi Arabia and Italy. People that have families that have long been connected in ways that no one realized, including themselves. Because this breaching method uses everyone, using their own differences and other people's differences through an as systems tactical ulterior from the one that is generating all differences or chose us when we are using systems abridged from its system that appreciates a special difference here, where its relativity to itself, all parts of itself, as everything that could be or will be. In other words, the same way, the same identity of relativity to positive and negative, except for where it has a temporary concentrated value difference here. Well, where we are right where it is about to be too hot, too cold, where we are being demonstrated to things that we have been ignoring. That's what the Native Americans realize. But what our founders left for them and for us to have preserved for our education the best they could, it was stolen from us, even though it's declassified. It's not even debatable legitimately. Illegitimate debate. The breaching method showed them to self-value that. The breaching method built most of the things about precedents and statutes. Criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, raw / hyper-criminally foreign influence. I'm not even a lawyer. It is time, black people. Period. Who disbelieves? Get me off the fake conversations with the news and interbranch. Get them on paper, one name and sequence, please. Judge Napolitano, please. I don't want they're lying. They're needing me. They brought their names up too. They're sequence shifting, and they put a fake motivations. They bring their kids into it. In other words, get me a response for what I caught them doing with the principal child abuser, and playing games, sustaining this between the campuses, and names in next to it are involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, with the interbranch and foreign at the same time. But we have to start with the interbranch first here, our side. Get them on paper. Get them on paper.